All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into this whole ketogenic diet thing. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. The keto diet.
It's it's more than just like the latest trendy way to eat or something like that.
Right.
It's got this whole like fascinating scientific backstory to it.
It really does. Yeah, it's a whole way of eating.
Hmm.
It's a high fat, moderate protein, and very, very low carb approach to eating.
Yeah.
The goal with it is to shift your body into using fat as its primary source of fuel.
So it's not just another low carb diet.
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
It's all about hitting very specific macronutrient ratios.
Okay.
And so we're talking usually around 70 to 80% of your calories from fat,
Wow.
about 10 to 20% from protein,
Okay.
and then keeping those carbs incredibly low, like under 5 to 10%.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
not like Atkins or some of these other
Uh-huh.
kind of low carb diets where you gradually increase carbs over time. It's really about maintaining this ratio to stay in ketosis.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Ketosis, that's where your body is burning fat for energy.
that's exactly right.
But tell me, how do people even figure this out?
Well, it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It wasn't originally for weight loss, believe it or not.
Right.
Back in the 1920s, doctors had discovered that fasting
Oh, wow.
could help to control seizures in children who had epilepsy.
Really?
And so the ketogenic diet was actually developed as a way to mimic those metabolic effects of fasting,
Interesting.
but still allowing those kids to eat.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how does this ketosis thing actually work?
Okay, well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Your body normally loves to use glucose from carbohydrates as its main energy source.
Right.
But when you drastically cut those carbs,
Yeah.
your body's backup energy supply, which is this stored glucose called glycogen,
Uh-huh.
gets depleted pretty quickly.
Right.
And so then your body's like, okay, no carbs, no problem. Let's tap into those fat stores.
Makes sense.
And so your liver kicks into high gear, breaking down that fat into molecules called ketones.
So ketones are the new energy source then?
Precisely, yeah.
Wow.
Your brain and body can use those ketones as fuel. It's kind of like switching from burning wood to burning gas.
Right. Okay, that's a pretty powerful image.
Yeah.
So what types of ketones are we talking about? Are all ketones created equal?
Well, so there are three primary types of ketones.
Okay.
Acetoacetate,
Okay.
beta-hydroxybutyrate,
Okay.
which is also known as BHB,
Okay.
and acetone.
Okay.
BHB is the most abundant ketone,
Okay.
and it's the most efficient energy source of the three.
Okay, so it sounds like this whole keto thing is pretty complex.
It is. It is.
How do you even know if it's right for you?
Well, that is a really great question.
Right.
And in order to figure that out, we have to kind of dig a little bit deeper into the benefits and risks
Why?
and think about your own personal health and lifestyle. And of course, you always want to talk to your doctor
Oh, yeah, for sure.
before you make any big changes to your diet.
Right, so for someone that's considering keto, what are some of the potential benefits that they might experience?
Okay, well, one of the most well-known benefits of keto is weight loss.
Okay.
Keto can help to control your appetite
Mm-hmm.
and ramp up your fat burning,
Right.
which can lead to pretty significant weight loss for some people.
I've also heard that it can be helpful for people who have type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, that's right, because keto can help to stabilize blood sugar levels. So
Right.
by reducing your carbs, you're reducing those glucose spikes that can be problematic for those with diabetes
Right, okay.
or insulin resistance.
What about other potential benefits? I know there's a lot of buzz out there about keto and brain health.
There is, yeah.
Okay.
So we already talked about its use in epilepsy,
Right.
but researchers are also exploring its potential for other neurological conditions like Alzheimer's disease
Wow.
and Parkinson's disease.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's definitely an area of ongoing research.
Okay, so this is fascinating stuff, but I imagine there are also some potential risks or downsides to consider, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No diet is a magic bullet,
Right.
and keto definitely comes with its own set of considerations that we
Right.
need to kind of explore carefully before anyone decides to try it.
Yeah. I mean, this is already so much to think about.
Sure.
I'm realizing how important it is to really understand the science behind this diet before diving in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your health.
Right.
And speaking of knowledge, there are actually different ways to approach the keto diet,
Really?
depending on your goals and your needs.
I thought it was like just one set way of eating.
No, not at all. There's actually a variety of different ketogenic diets. So there's the standard ketogenic diet,
Okay.
which is often referred to as SKD.
Okay.
That's the most common type.
Right.
And that's what we've mostly been talking about today.
Okay.
But then there's also the cyclical ketogenic diet, or CKD. Okay.
which includes periods of higher carb refeeds.
Interesting.
And so athletes sometimes use this approach.
Oh, okay. So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Not at all.
Right.
There's also the targeted ketogenic diet, or TKD,
Okay.
which allows you to have some carbs around your workouts.
Interesting.
And then for people who are more focused on building muscle,
Yeah.
there's the high-protein ketogenic diet.
Wow. I had no idea. There were so many options.
Yeah.
This is getting really interesting.
It is. And, it highlights the fact that keto isn't just a fad diet.
Right.
It really is a complex metabolic approach with a range of potential applications.
Okay, so you've convinced me I need to know more.
All right.
What are some of those potential risks that we should be aware of?
Well, one really common side effect that people experience when they first start keto
Yeah.
is something called the keto flu.
Keto flu.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Is it actually the flu?
Well, it's not contagious like the actual flu.
Yeah. But it can cause some flu-like symptoms,
Awesome.
okay, like fatigue and headache, maybe some nausea and constipation.
So what causes it?
Well, it's mainly due to electrolyte imbalances.
Okay.
So when you drastically reduce your carbs, your body tends to hold on to less water
Uh-huh.
and electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and magnesium.
So it's important to replenish those electrolytes then.
Exactly. Staying really well hydrated is key,
Okay.
and increasing your salt intake can actually be really helpful.
Okay.
And you can also supplement with electrolytes if needed.
Right. Okay. Good advice. Are there other potential downsides to be aware of?
Yeah, so some people experience some digestive issues,
Okay.
particularly constipation.
Yeah.
And this is where getting enough fiber from low-carb vegetables becomes really important.
Right. Okay.
And in some cases, people might see an increase in their LDL cholesterol,
Okay.
which is often called the bad cholesterol.
Oh, okay. That's concerning.
Yeah, and so it's not a guaranteed thing.
Right.
And the research on keto's impact on cholesterol is kind of mixed.
But interestingly, the increase in LDL is often in the larger, less harmful particles.
Okay.
And HDL, which is the good cholesterol, often tends to increase.
Okay.
But it's definitely something to discuss with your doctor.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
This all really emphasizes the importance of talking to a healthcare professional
Yes.
before making any major dietary changes.
Absolutely.
They can really help determine if keto is a good fit and make sure that you're doing it safely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground so far.
Yeah.
From the history of keto to the science behind it,
Yeah.
potential benefits, and some of the risks.
Right.
What's next on our deep dive?
Well, next let's get into like the nitty-gritty
Okay.
of what it actually looks like to
Yeah.
eat a keto diet.
Right.
Like what can you eat? What should you avoid?
Yeah,
And how can you make this way of eating sustainable and enjoyable?
that sounds like a plan.
Okay, great.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back and I'm ready to really dig into this.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Let's do it.
what does it actually look like to eat this way?
Oh, okay.
Like every single day?
Imagine, a plate filled with just vibrant, colorful foods.
Okay,
But hold the breadbasket.
okay.
On keto, it's all about embracing healthy fats,
Right.
enjoying moderate amounts of protein, and keeping those carbs super low.
Okay, so like paint me a picture.
Okay.
What might a typical day of keto meals look like?
Okay, let's start with breakfast.
Okay,
How about some eggs cooked in butter,
okay, yeah.
with a side of some creamy avocado and maybe a generous helping of spinach?
So good.
Or maybe you're in the mood for a chia seed pudding,
Okay.
topped with some unsweetened coconut flakes and a dollop of full-fat yogurt.
Those actually sound pretty delicious.
Right.
What about lunch and dinner?
All right, so for lunch,
Yeah.
picture a big salad with some grilled salmon or chicken.
Okay.
A rainbow of non-starchy veggies like bell peppers, cucumbers,
Yeah.
broccoli, all drizzled with a tangy olive oil vinaigrette.
Okay.
And for dinner,
Yeah.
maybe a juicy steak with a side of roasted asparagus and cauliflower mash,
Okay.
made with butter and cream.
Right.
No potatoes needed.
Wow. I mean, those meals sound anything but boring.
Right.
I'm starting to see how you could actually like enjoy eating this way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What about snacks?
Yeah. So snacks,
Take me
we've
away.
got nuts and seeds, cheese, hard-boiled eggs,
Yeah.
celery sticks with almond butter.
Okay.
These are all great keto-friendly options
Okay.
to keep you satisfied between meals.
So speaking of snacks,
Yeah.
I have a confession.
Okay.
I have a major sweet tooth.
Okay.
Is there any way to like satisfy those cravings on keto?
I hear you on the sweet tooth struggle.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
there are tons of keto-friendly dessert recipes out there.
Really?
Yeah, so think about like chocolate avocado mousse,
Oh, wow.
almond flour cookies,
Okay.
even a berry parfait with whipped cream, and a sprinkle of sugar-free sweetener.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What about like the big no-nos?
Yeah.
What do you avoid?
So the big things to avoid on keto
Yeah.
are sugary drinks,
Okay.
processed foods,
Right.
and those tempting starchy carbs like bread and pasta, rice and potatoes.
Right. Yeah, all the good stuff.
I know, and most fruits are also off limits,
Okay.
although you can have berries in small amounts.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So it definitely sounds like a shift in mindset.
it is.
But I'm seeing how it can like open up a whole new world of culinary possibilities.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of resources, I know there's a lot of information about keto online.
Right.
How can our listeners make sure that they're getting accurate, reliable information?
That's such a good question because you're right.
Yeah.
There's so much information out there, and it can be hard to sift through.
Totally.
So I always say it's really crucial to be discerning. You want to stick to reputable sources like medical journals, books by qualified health professionals,
Okay.
and websites of, recognized health organizations.
Right.
Be wary of those sensationalized headlines or claims that sound too good to be true.
Right. Okay.
And, always remember what works for one person may not work for another.
That's true.
Yeah,
It's about finding what works best for you.
exactly.
What about long-term sustainability?
Okay, so
Is keto something that people can stick with over time?
that is where things get really interesting because, it really depends on the individual and their lifestyle.
Right.
For some people, the structure and clear guidelines of keto can be really helpful. Making it easier to stick with than maybe a less defined way of eating.
Right. Okay.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
it can feel restrictive for some people,
Yeah.
especially, in social situations
Right.
that often revolve around food.
Right.
So it's essential to be honest with yourself about your lifestyle. Yeah.
Your preferences and your long-term goals.
Okay.
If you're someone who thrives on flexibility and spontaneity,
Yeah.
keto might feel too limiting.
So it's not a matter of willpower.
No.
It's more about finding an approach that truly fits your life.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about finding a way of eating that you can sustain without feeling deprived
Right.
or constantly fighting cravings.
Okay.
And even if you don't follow keto strictly forever,
Yeah.
the knowledge that you gain from it
Right.
can empower you to make healthier choices in the long run.
Yeah. No, I'm starting to get the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
It's not just about the food. It's about
It's-
understanding your body,
Yeah,
your needs, and finding a way to nourish yourself that feels good
totally.
and sustainable and enjoyable.
I love that.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of misconceptions about keto out there.
Oh, I bet.
So I think we need to address those head on
Okay.
to help our listeners really separate fact from fiction.
Okay. Yeah. Let's bust some myths. Okay, let's do it.
Yes, yeah. What are some of the most common misconceptions you hear about the ketogenic diet? All right, so we're back,
Yeah, let's do it.
ready to tackle those keto myths.
Bust those myths wide open.
I think one of the biggest ones I hear is that
Yeah.
it's just another fad diet.
Oh, yeah, I hear that one all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
It's understandable,
It's all right.
with all these trendy diets popping up. It's easy to see why people might think that.
right.
But keto, unlike some of those quick fix fads, is actually based on solid scientific principles.
Okay.
And it's been studied extensively, especially for its therapeutic uses.
Right. We talked about how it was originally developed to treat epilepsy in children.
Exactly, yeah.
It's amazing how something with such a long history can suddenly become so popular,
It is. It just goes to show that good science stands the test of time.
That's true.
And speaking of misconceptions,
Yeah.
another one I hear a lot is that keto is dangerous.
Oh, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that?
Well, like any way of eating, if it's not done correctly,
Right.
or if it's not right for you,
Yeah.
it can potentially have some downsides.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important to work with a healthcare professional
Right.
and make sure you're getting your information from those reliable sources.
It's all about personalized guidance.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
And this kind of ties into another myth that I want to address,
Okay.
which is that keto is all about willpower
Yeah.
and deprivation.
Yeah, that whole good food versus bad food mentality.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Keto is not about punishing yourself
Right.
or labeling foods as good or bad.
Okay.
It's about understanding how different foods affect your body
Right.
and making choices that align with your goals.
So it's more about making a conscious shift in how you approach food and nutrition.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
It's about tuning in to your body's signals,
Right.
understanding your individual needs,
Okay.
and finding a way of eating that feels satisfying and sustainable for you.
Okay, so we've busted some myths.
We did.
What advice would you give to our listeners
Yeah.
who are intrigued by keto and want to learn more?
I always encourage people to approach any new way of eating with a healthy dose of curiosity and skepticism.
Yeah.
Do your research, read books by reputable authors,
Right.
check out websites of respected health organizations,
Yeah.
and most importantly,
Look
talk
it
to your doctor.
Yeah, for sure.
They can help you assess whether keto is right for you
Okay.
and guide you on a safe and informed journey.
It's great advice. Knowledge is power,
It is.
especially when it comes to our health.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
into the ketogenic diet,
Right.
what's like the key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
That's a good question. I think the biggest takeaway is that keto is more than just a diet.
Yeah.
It's a metabolic shift that
Yeah.
has the potential to impact various aspects of your health and well-being.
Right.
So whether you're considering keto for weight loss, blood sugar control, or other potential benefits,
Yeah.
approach it with an informed and balanced perspective.
Right.
Weigh those potential benefits and risks.
Yeah,
Consider your individual needs and preferences,
for sure.
and seek guidance from those qualified professionals.
So well said. And, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition.
There really isn't.
What works best for you might be different from what works for someone else.
Absolutely.
The most important thing is to listen to your body, experiment, and find what helps you thrive.
I love that. Could not agree more.
Thank you so much for joining us on this fascinating deep dive into the ketogenic diet.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We hope you learned something new today and feel empowered to make informed choices about your health. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those bodies nourished.